Hey everyone, this is More Than Just Trucks, a podcast for gearheads, truckers, and anyone who wants to learn more about the trucking industry. This podcast is sponsored by Truck Country and Stoops Freightliner. Come along with me as we dive deeper into what makes this $700 billion industry an essential part of all our lives. Here, we will interview industry leaders, educators, and more as we aim to inform the population on all things trucking. Hello and welcome to More Than Just Trucks podcast. I'm Ray Clark, your host, with a couple great guys with me today. Jay, one of the returning people that's him and I have gone back many of years. Bob, fairly new with us and with myself, but starting a very good relationship. And so I'll let you guys introduce yourself and tell the audience here where you're from. Bob, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that. Nice introduction. My name is Bob Cornwell. I work for ASE. My responsibilities there are the truck series of tests. I've been with ASE, gosh, about 17 years now. History with me is I've been a truck guy pretty much my whole life. For about 45 years, I've been in the industry. So enjoy all the stuff I get to do, enjoy getting to converse with folks such as yourselves in the industry. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
You want me
Jay?
next?
Oh, sure. Let's go. Mr.
All
Pro.
right. Jay Goninen, co-founder at WrenchWay. For those of you not familiar with WrenchWay, do a lot of work with schools and really kind of a lot to support the industry in terms of getting data back to shops to be able to make educated decisions on their staffing needs and really kind of really focused on technicians. I think it has been from the start, but over the years has kind of shifted from more of a recruiting focus to schools and industry focused, along with the data piece. We have a great partnership with ASE, so it's really great to be on here with Bob.
Yes, thanks, Jay. Yeah, for those of you, if you've followed me from kind of the start, know that I'm not a big podcaster. I don't do a lot of frequent shows. Jay's been on, oh man, several times. We've even done some in-person recordings and stuff, and it's been great. Starting with Jay, and like I said, and moving from the very initial Find a Wrench to WrenchWay, and he has really just jumped into the schools and really initiating really the employer side of things with schools and how do we get more involved, and then most recently with ASE now. So if you guys have not heard, we, Truck Country, Technical, and Stoops Training Academy are ASE accredited for our schooling. So it's kind of cool. We've had more of a push to get ASE in the spotlight. And that is what today's show is all about. With these two guys, I feel like there's a lot of unknown, and then there's a lot of myths out there with ASE, especially on the truck side, Bob. This year we've gotten involved and helped you out with the testing and remaking the tests and rewording of it. I think that's a biggest thing. I know we can talk a little more about the technician A, technician B said things and moving away from that, but it's, right off the bat, the first thing that I think of is everybody thinks that ASE is just a piece of paper and, it's just, well, they're a good test taker. So much wrong with that in my eyes, because I'm not a good test taker, and I was a master automotive technician, ASE certified. And when you look at that, it's like I relate it to our top tech whole event, from the written exam to the hands-on exam. And when you come into the written exam, just like the ASE exams, you have to know what you're reading and what you're answering. Like, this isn't just well, he's a good test taker, he read it and no, you need to know, you have to have some knowledge here. So, some of that really, man, it's just that whole theory of, they're just good test takers. And as managers look at it, and like I said, why is it, do you think, Bob, and Jay, chime in, like, the automotive side is like really heavy on ASE and promoting ASE. Is it because they started with the automotive side? What do you think?
It's a great question. There is more history, of course, with the automotive side and ASE. Um, the truck side, it's interesting. We work with a lot of large fleets, a lot of different companies to try to get the word out to support ASE and to support their technicians. It's a challenge we run into, and I can't exactly say it's just one thing. My experience is there's so time stressed on the truck side for technicians, getting them time to take time off to go take the tests and support them in training and stuff like that. It's very challenging for a lot of these fleets. My personal experience with this situation is I know when the economy tightens up a little bit and money gets a little tight, the very first thing they cut is the training and the certification side of things. Kind of the wrong direction to go, I would think, but we see that quite often. The truck folks that we get to work with quite often, such as yourself, we get to deal with some pretty good sized fleets. The folks that are bought in with ASE and support us, and by support us, I mean they'll let us use their technicians for our workshops. We'll take these guys out of the shop for 3 days. We used to actually bring them into a group meeting here in Leesburg, Virginia, where our office is, and we would sit around the table with 15 or 16 technicians and hash out not only the task list, what should be covered in this task, and everybody agrees that that's the right way to do it. And then they'll actually write the test questions for us, and then we turn those questions back to the group of 15 or 16 people, and they all have to agree that this is a good quality question. And that's what's a lot of the misconceptions on the ASE test
Yes.
questions come from. They think it's just, me sitting behind a desk writing a test question. And honestly, I'm not that smart. I'm not that good. So I bring
We,
folks in that are that smart,
well, you
and
have to be if you're sitting in that seat.
and these
Bob's
folks
being
that
humble. I was like, Bob's being
Yeah.
pretty humble here. Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy.
well, the guys we bring in, I learn something. I learn more from the folks that join our webinar, or excuse me, that join our workshops than I will ever have myself. So as a fun side note, we always go around and just take an average of the years of service by the folks in our workshops. And most of them workshop to 15 people. We'll end up with 350 or 400 years of experience. So that's invaluable to us.
Yeah. So let's elaborate a little bit on that because so you've already attested that you have fleet technicians kind of going through a process, writing the exams. I know who's on your workshop, but let the audience know because I don't think they understand that it's not just you and it's just not a few of handful of guys like whoever. It's literally certified instructors from every OEM, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct. We invite all the OEMs. A lot of times they can't all make it, but we've of course had Cummins. We've had back in the day Caterpillar. If we're doing diesel engines, we'll invite Ford. Whoever wants to come and be part of this. And then we also find some lead technicians in large fleets, whether it be FedEx, UPS, whoever. We try to reach out to some instructors to get them involved as well. And then we try to fill it in the other seats with hands-on working technicians. So folks that are still in the shop, still doing the work on a daily basis that understand, the struggles that our technicians go through. And it's interesting to see the OEMs who will sit in there with us and they'll write a great question in their mind. And the technicians will sit there and say, well, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And they're going, yes, it does. And they're going, no, it really doesn't. And the technicians will get up and draw on the whiteboard and say, this is how it happens. This is this. And they'll lay it all out. And the back and forth is, for me, is priceless. We'll have some trainers and some folks who walk away going, son of a gun, he's right. I didn't know it did that. So the
Yeah.
the camaraderie and the sharing of information back and forth is fantastic. Something we tell primarily our technicians, by trade, we're not exactly chatty Cathys. We don't network well. We don't share with each other as well as we maybe should. So we tell our guys when they leave the workshop, network with these guys, stay in contact with our contacts from Cummins and Navistar and Freightliner. And if you have a question, reach out. Most of the folks that are involved with us at the workshop are very willing to help other people, especially down to the technicians in the field. And because the technicians give them good quality data back,
Right.
they're excited to have that back and forth.
Good. Jay, what's your take? I mean, you're literally East Coast to West Coast throughout the year, now involved with ASE, both with the auto side and the diesel side. What do you see? Where's the lapse in diesel? Why is it not so prominent as much as the auto?
Well, I think for me, this is always an interesting conversation. It's always a hot topic. I think there are elements to where maybe leadership at times won't embrace it because it might include another obstacle for them to go through to get new technicians in the door, right? And I think where I push back on that is when I have conversations with technicians, or if we do something like our annual Voice of Technician survey, where we hear back constantly about technicians not feeling valued or not feeling respected, or maybe the outside perception of technicians is not what they would want it to be. I push back on them in saying that why would you fight this certification then? This is a way to distinguish yourself. It is an honor. I think it does maybe make people look at you differently. And at the end of the day, I think it's very odd that we have more, you need to have more credentials to be a cosmetologist than you do to work on these very heavy machines, right? And so, like, as I look at this as a whole, and if you go back to the origin story of ASE in the first place, right, which was you had manufacturers coming together because they saw how the government ran things and they said, wait a minute, we don't want you licensing our people. We want to take care of this ourselves.
Yep.
I think there's still that element that's out there of like, you know what, if the government were to get involved with something like this, it's going to be painful. It's not going to be fun. And you'll have a lot of people that have no idea what's going on with our industry trying to dictate what a credential is. So to me, I think this is such a great path to that respect level that so many people are looking for. Can the tests be challenging? Absolutely. And they should be, because if everybody goes in and passes them, it's pretty pointless to have a test in the first place. So they are challenging. You do have to prepare in most cases. I know some techs are just naturally like go in and pass it, but for the most part, you may have to do a little preparation for it. You may have to do a little work for it. And if you're not willing to do that, I honestly don't want to hear about the lack of respect that you're getting, right? Like you need to put some time into really garnering that respect.
Well, something you just said something about, guys can log in or go and sit down and take the test and do well. Thinking out loud on that, Jay and Bob, what I think we could be seeing, but we're seeing, but less of, is the new generation that is fairly book smart, right? And I'm honestly going to throw my son out there because smart.
Shout out Diesel.
Yep, shout out Diesel. But doesn't apply himself, but got into the industry, has a good memory, very, very smart, can put things together, but willing to get his hands dirty, bust the knuckle type scenario, right? So are we seeing more of those guys that just don't want to go to college? It's fewer of them, right? But are they the smarter one? Again, I don't want to stereotype.
Ray, let me jump in there because I think it's always been that case, right? Like if you look, even I look back to like old school mechanics way back in the day, and you would have somebody that could fix something that nobody else could. And I mean, when you're going back a long ways, maybe that person couldn't read, right? Like they were just really gifted at that one thing. And so I think there's always been that element where they've been mechanically smart. And until somebody sees that up close and sees what they can do, there's always been that. Now, as you move forward, I think you're seeing maybe some of the younger folks adding some other things to that skill set as well. And And so to me, I think it's really interesting. The other piece I would say to that is I think the one thing we have to be careful of as an industry is putting all technicians in the same bucket, right? Regardless
Right.
of age,
Yes.
because you're just like doctors, you're going to have some good ones and you're going to have some bad ones. I think
Or
one, I,
some that are more skilled, some that are just, hey, I want to stay in this lane. I'm a good general practitioner, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think we all see techs that are that way, right? That,
Yes.
I just want to clock in at the beginning of the day, clock out at the end, do my job in between. And I'm perfectly content with maybe not pushing myself up the ladder, right? Like, and I think there's opportunities for everybody in this industry, and being able to really understand what lane you want to be in as a tech. If you want to be that high achieving tech, I do think ASE is a big piece of that.
Well, to that, right? So we talk about it being you're a good test taker or whatever. What is to me right now, and chatting with both of you guys, Bob, in your eyes, what's the difference between a Freightliner or Detroit or Peterbilt certified technician that has to go and take that written exam, right, in order to get to the instructor level? So what's the difference of it's point blank to me? It's just knowledge. Like they're smart enough to answer the. So what's the difference between an ASE sort of? Oh, because it's generalized. No, it's not. You've already attested that technicians from across the states, fleet technicians, dealership technicians, a group of individuals doing the workshop make these questions up. So it's not like, oh God, forgive me to say this. It's not like AI is prompting these questions.
We haven't got there yet, Jay. I'm worried about that a little bit in the future. So, Ray, great question.
Yeah.
A couple of things to continue to add to this. On the truck side, and this is just my experience, on the truck side, most of our folks are paid hourly. Okay, so they come into the industry, whether it's from a trade school, whether it's from right out of high school. For me, the most critical part is finding the mentor that's correct for them. So Jay had made a comment earlier that some of our truck guys maybe are not really good readers. My very first mentor at my very first international dealership I was at 16 years of age, was when I started. He had a third grade education. Couldn't read particularly well, but as Jay said, he could figure stuff out. He was really an impressive guy. He was a grumpy old guy, which, I'm getting there now apparently, but he could figure stuff out. He was really, really talented. And I hung around long enough. He got tired of yelling at me to leave him alone, and he started showing me and teaching me. And I learned so much from that guy. I look back at things now that, somebody says, "How do you know that?" I'm like, well, believe it or not, Larry back in 1983 showed me that. So, the mentor part is so important part of that.
Very much.
As truck people, we like to share. We like to help each other. We like to, kind of build our next replacement, our next understudy, our next technician. Automotive to me, and not picking on auto guys, they just don't seem to be quite as willing to share their knowledge and stuff, whereas the truck guys do. Um, but again, our truck guys are not as outgoing. They're not as vocal. They're not, there's not as much stuff out there, not to pick on YouTube or anything else, but there's not as much stuff out there. With a car, if I've got a certain code, I can, what I call GTS, Google that stuff and get a lot of links to it.
BT,
Try to
I
do that
like
with a
that.
Yeah, try to do that with a 1999 International something what's got a code in it. Yet there's
Right.
just not much out there.
Right.
So there's a lot more support on that side for automotive guys, not quite as much for the trucks, but I'm seeing a huge uptick in it now. So the truck guys are starting to come in and share their information, share the data, which I think is great.
Yeah. I love the aspect of mentoring, right? I can relate on both auto and truck side for myself because working in my early days, I was an auto technician and got certified GM. And we had a senior technician that was our diagnostic guy. And I can remember one repair coming over and him coming over and say, I'm like, help me out here, right? I'm at a loss. Comes over and he points to something. He goes, test this. And sure enough, that's what it was. He goes, that's why I get paid the big bucks, and walks away. I'm like, okay. But then on the truck side of it, yeah, I do know that, like, working in the shop with my dad, and Jay probably can feel the same thing, is like you're exactly right. We're not big outgoing type people, but we're willing to share if you're willing to listen. And I have seen that as a service manager myself, that, several senior technicians, we've got our gear guys, we've got our engine guys, we've got our general guys. And yes, to your point, they're grumpy. It's like, it's like they don't want to, you don't get near them because they're going to chew your head off or something. But I tell every young technician that if you just go in there with the right attitude and listen, those guys will give you so much information. And it is. Jay, what have you seen with the mentorship between the auto and diesel?
I think I mean, it has a huge either positive or negative effect on a young technician, right? If I think some of our attrition issues come from maybe lack of mentorship or lack of the right mentor in the shop. And Bob, I think your experience is very similar to mine and to a lot of people, where when you try to ask questions and you get your head chewed off, you're not maybe as apt to go back and ask questions, or you really want to be putting thought into the type of question you're going to ask so you don't get chewed out again. But I think you're starting to see maybe this younger generation doesn't want that, right? Like maybe they're not used to the wrenches flying around the shop and all of the colorful language as much as maybe we were growing up. So I think being able to find the right mentors, and even as it relates to like ASE stuff, right? On the automotive side, we had I've got a technician friend who really took it amongst himself to help others in his dealership prepare for ASE tests. So he was staying after hours, helping them do kind of study prep and really doing it in a way that was kind of organized. And for this person who, age wise was only mid 20s doing this, was helping everybody else in the shop
Wow.
study for their ASE tests. And their pass rate went significantly higher because they were putting the work in. And
Nice.
so, mentorship can come in a bunch of different forms. And I look at that as maybe an opportunity for a lot of shops that are out there that might be struggling with this to, if you maybe have that special person in your shop already that is willing to kind of do some of this extra stuff and maybe is good at taking tests, maybe you can utilize their strengths and their knowledge to help the rest of the team really kind of get engaged with this. Because what I've really, from my eyes, have seen is that once a shop, and especially once a few key people in a shop start to embrace ASE, the kind of the tide shifts, and you do look at it as a source of pride, and you do look at it as an accomplishment, because it is a huge accomplishment to do it. It's hard to do. And so for those that put in the work, and if you've got a mentor that can kind of guide you and direct you in that direction, I think that's really helpful and really removes a lot of barriers that we see.
Yeah. And go ahead, Bob.
So Jay, if I can, I'd like to build on what you just said just a little bit.
Please.
It's interesting if we've got some older guys, I'll speak about myself here in a shop, and I'm not ASE certified, and I've got young guys who come in and get ASE certified. Now, to me, as an old guy, that's a challenge. But if we have the mentor come in and be certified, then the younger folks are going to look up to him again as a mentor and say, "Hey, what is that? What does it mean? How do you do it? Tell me about this." So
I couldn't agree more.
I see both sides of that, and I kind of got into ASE test taking almost by mistake. My boss at the time, again at the international dealership, had an ASE patch on his shoulder. So I'd been there about a year, and I'm asking about, hey, what is this? How come you got that on your uniform and I don't? What's going on? So he kind of gave me a quick breakdown and explained what it was and stuff, and its written tests and things like that. And I kind of said, interesting. Okay, I want to see if I can do this now. So I challenged myself to try to, see if I could make myself better by taking the test and stuff. And I'll be honest, my very first test was T2 diesel engines. And I'd never really been inside of a diesel engine before. So, of course, I was unsuccessful with my first test. So I was like, well, son of a gun, it's asking about pistons and liners and coolers. And I don't know any of this stuff. So now I really kind of threw myself into it. So again, when my mentor did an in-frame overhaul, I was much more interested in asking questions. And then he was kind of, really willing to share. well, why do you think this one particular piston failed? Well, gosh, I don't know. Explain it to me. So it was kind of a bonding moment for my mentor and I because I was more into what he was doing, and he taught me an awful lot that way. And I challenged myself and started getting into more of the tests. And from T2, I took others. Um, we see a lot of our young students will come right out of a school someplace and want to jump in and take the T2 diesel engine and have the same experience that my knucklehead did, where I want to take I'm a diesel guy. I want to take the diesel
Yep.
engines test, never having been in one, never having disassembled one, don't understand, thrush washers and backlash and stuff like that. And unfortunately, they're unsuccessful. And we I look at a lot of numbers, and usually we get about 1.5 bite at the apple on average. If somebody comes in and takes a test, someone will take the test one time and they're unsuccessful, they won't come back. Others, it's two. So about 1.5 of being unsuccessful on a test, they walk away and say the test is broken. Um, a little further down that line, I've had some older folks I've had to help with taking ASE tests. And not to pick on old guys because I am one, but a lot of them just don't read the question for what the question's asking.
Yeah.
And that's where we get a lot of, oh, it's a broken question, or uh, the question didn't perform like it's supposed to, blah, blah, blah. If you drill that into it and you read the question slowly and explain, you can see the light bulb go off. And then they're like, oh, hey, gosh, now I understand. You're right. It should have been answer C. Son of a gun. So if we can get our folks to slow down and read what's in the question, they have a much better chance. As
Well,
technicians, and again, I'm one myself. Sorry, Ray.
No, you're good.
We want to jump right in, get it done, and move on to the next thing. It's all about efficiency. So we read through the question way too quick. We throw an answer down and we run to the end of the test,
That's
and then
true.
we're just not successful. And that's the technician mentality. I'm sorry, mechanic. I'm a mechanic. I'm old. I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm still a mechanic. Uh,
Technician.
and that's what we do. We jump to the end. We try to get it done. Let's move on. We have to be efficient. Let's close that chapter. Let's move to the next. And we just don't take the time to really slow down and be honest with ourselves. And yes, I understand this. I don't understand that. I've got to study more.
ASEs are just like any exam. It's a self-assessment. Like, how much knowledge do you really know? So it's not just these are, okay, so big deal, you're ASE certified. Okay, so big deal, I'm Freightliner Detroit certified. That means something. Like,
Right.
I can read a question and I can answer it correctly. It means I have that knowledge.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean I'm an expert technician. I have to gain that expertise with experience and time. Jay, you
That's the
were,
ma that's the
yeah,
magic word, Ray. I'm sorry not to interrupt. Experience on top of reading the material and learning
yes,
material, putting hands on is crucial for our technicians. Absolutely.
yeah.
Sorry,
Jay,
Jay, go ahead, sir.
no, I think what Bob had said there was so important to understand, which is that failure isn't final, right? If you go in and say you bomb a test right off the bat, don't take that as discouragement. I think that helps you understand, even if you're when you're going to the facility to take the test, like that can be a new experience and can drive maybe a little anxiety. And the actual test itself, if we're not taking tests every day, it's a different environment altogether. I think the more you can take Bob's mindset right there and say, hey, you know what, I wasn't successful the first time, I'm going to go back and tackle this again, but I'm going to come back more prepared and I'll know what it's like this time around. And even if you go back again and you fail, like I think it's worth kind of that pursuit of this certification. And the more you have a positive mindset around it, one, I think that speaks volumes about who you are as a tech in the first place, right? If you're able to kind of bounce back from maybe some form of negative, and it's tough, right? Because I think we've all been in a shop and everybody knows what you're doing, right? You're stepping out, and I always joke that if I had left the shop for like an hour to go to a doctor's appointment, I'd come back and everybody else in the shop would be like, "Hey, part timer," you're like, "I left for an hour."
yep,
But so like all that to just say, like, there is some pressure on you when you go into this, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's good, even if you fail, to be able to maybe realign yourself to how to prepare, right? How do I prepare for this test? And I think I took one when I was like 19, or was I 19? I was 18, and I wasn't prepared for it at all. Like I went in because the teacher's like, just go take it so you understand what it's like. And so I did it, bombed terribly. And it was just like one of those things where I think it gives you an idea of what what it is, because it is different. It is hard. And I think if you can take the right mindset like Bob did and maybe go and look at that overhaul and try to maybe pay a little bit more attention, it's going to force you to learn some new stuff. And that's not a bad thing.
And I
So
knew when I took my ASEs, I got nerved up because I knew, I guess I'll call it the difficulty for me because I'm not a test taker. And to your point, read the question slowly, thoroughly, and then, if you've got the knowledge, go through it.
So Ray, I'll ask you and Jay, because you guys have both been in the industry for a while. Do you remember your jobs you've done that were perfect, better, or do you remember the ones that kicked your butt?
Oh, the ones
Kicked
that
your
kicked
butt by
my,
far.
yeah,
So you learned a lesson. You weren't successful. You got your butt kicked, and you went back and you studied and studied, and you finally figured it out, and it was this great aha moment. So, when you're unsuccessful with something, for me anyway, that just drives me crazy, Jay,
yeah,
like you said, and I want to figure it out. Gosh darn it, how come I didn't figure that out sooner? How did I miss that? I should have known that. So, kind of the same thing with the testing and stuff too. If you're
Good point.
unsuccessful,
yep,
especially a particular question, and we'll occasionally get comments and emails from folks. I saw this question on the T2 test, and what the heck was that? That's a BS question. There's no such thing. I'm like, well, yeah, here's some data, here's some information. And if folks reach out to us, we do our very best to send them whatever material we can.
good,
We
nice,
won't we won't explain to them, who wrote the question or, stuff like that, but we'll share with them if it's something from Navistar, Freightliner, or Cummins, and we've got the documentation. We'll share that with the folks and say, hey, here's what we have. This is what's in their training manual. This is what we've seen, and this is kind of how we ended up here. And some of those folks who call and raise the most heck with me about how terrible the test is, we'll actually bring them in and have them be a subject matter expert for us.
Oh,
We've won some folks over who I mean, my first meeting with them was brutal. They called me things that, I shouldn't repeat. And, this is terrible. This is a terrible test. What is this? And so after a few times of that, we brought them in and said, okay, if they're so bad, help us make them better. And then afterwards, they're like, holy heck, I had no idea that much went into this. Okay, you're correct. This is a learning opportunity. This is this.
it's called being
And
humble in the end,
yes, sir, exactly right. Yeah.
man. So, okay, so I get certified. Is that for life? I get to go on, I mean, one and done.
Great question. Our certification test, majority of them last for 5 years. Once you pass and again, I'll use T2 as an example. You pass your T2, you're certified for 5 years. At about 4 years and 4.5 years or so, we'll send you an email and say, hey, if you want to recertify, here's the documentation, here's the stuff. The T2 test is a 55 question test. Our recertification test, for the most part, are exactly 50% of what the full length test is. So your T2 test is going to be 28 questions. When I build the tests, I try to make the research a little more challenging. You've got 5 more years of experience working on diesel engines. So the test should be a little more challenging for you.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, our pass rate for the recertification tests are considerably higher than the first time test takers. And we equate that to 5 more years of experience. Again,
that
the training is great. Like Jay said, the training is great, but until you get the experience to put your hands on it, a lot of times it doesn't sink in our head. It doesn't really stay in the gray material. So 5 more years of experience makes a huge, huge difference.
yeah, yep, yep,
And that's pretty much all of our tests. Full length are set by this group of subject matter experts. The what covered on the test, the number of questions on the test, how difficult the test is. This is all set by outside groups of subject matter experts, not by us at ASE. Everything we do at ASE is industry driven,
yeah.
everything.
And
So
that's one of the biggest myths. I think they don't realize that it's in, I think they do, but they overlook it in a sense. The myth is like, it's again, I want to use the terminology. It's a generalized question. Well, it's a very very smart generalized question that you have to have. Again, I can't express that enough. You have to be knowledgeable. You can't just guess A, B. Oh, yep, that's a C question. Yep, that's a C question. It's like you just don't go in there and start guessing at stuff. I mean, if you, again, to our point, right? If you're going to pass these exams, they're no different than having that knowledge. And I love the fact that you spoke about the 5 years experience and bumping up the technical difficulty side of things with the recertify. Jay, what's one of the biggest myths that you have recently? So being new, somewhat new to ASE partnership, what is it that you fight with or struggle? I know there's there's some stuff out there with getting into schools, which is right in your lane, and ASE partnering with them and stuff. So what's one of the biggest myths that you seem to hear or struggle with?
It's a good question. I think it's probably just what you guys were just talking about there, right? Like, I think a lot of people think that maybe Bob's sitting in a dark room in Leesburg, Virginia, and just a evil genius trying to come up
Yeah.
with gotcha questions. But what I'll say is, I think the evolution of ASE, and as it continues to grow, I know I've got a great relationship with Dave Johnson, the CEO, and numerous others within ASE. And what's really cool is I think they're really starting to push the envelope on some things, right? And I think, as Dave talks about in a lot of his content that he does, his focus really was to blow the dust off the brand in some way, right? And really try to really focus on keeping up with collaborations, with changes within the industry. And I think he's done a great job at that. I think the entire ASE team has done a great job at that. So to me, one of the biggest fallacies is that ASE isn't working to stay kind of up to par, or like they're not pushing the envelope on things, because I've been able to see them up close and personal, and the amount of progression that ASE is going through, even right now. Like, I think a lot of really good things in the right direction. And so, I know that's kind of a vague answer, but I also think it is a compliment to all of ASE in that they are pushing the envelope. They are working to maybe even figure out different ways to help that person that struggles to take tests, just to find that true knowledge. So there's a lot of things to come with ASE that I think are really exciting as well. But all in all, it is a very progressive brand. It's a great brand, right? I think even the general public knows who ASE is, because you'll hear it on a commercial. You'll hear it, out there. And the last thing I'll say there is, as our industry continues to evolve and the technology is coming at us at such a rapid pace right now, and it's not going to slow down for the rest of our careers, right? It's just going to kind of keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. The fact that we think we can sit back and not be certified, whether it is factory certification or ASE certification, I prefer both, right? Like, showing the credentials of how smart you are. And so many of our industry are so just incredibly smart. They deserve that recognition. I think certification really helps push that. The other piece to that is, our labor rates aren't going to go down anytime soon either, right? So the more and more we have to push the limits on our labor rates in the shops, the more and more we probably have to justify it, right? And so if we can point to all the certifications on the wall and say, listen, we have some extremely intelligent people here, it helps us justify that rate. And we all know how expensive it is to run a shop. The general public might not. And to run a good shop, to buy the right tools, you need to charge accordingly.
I was just going to say, Jay, can you explain that to the end user / customer, that it's just nuts and bolts to them, right? It's like,
right.
The trucks nowadays, I mean, we have autonomous trucks, meaning they drive on their own. I don't know about you guys, but if I come up beside a semi, 80,000+ with a trailer beside it, and see nobody sitting in the driver's seat,
freak you out a little bit.
That's not a Tesla. That's not a drone that somebody's flying. This is literally, a semi with a diesel engine going down the road, GPS, every bit of technology in there that would put a man on the moon or more. And people don't realize the technical aspects of these semis going down the road.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying there too, Ray, is just that I think our industry needs to do a better job of conveying how intelligent all of these folks in the shops are. And so having certification as a way to help like kind of us drive
Exactly.
that conversation is very, very helpful, right? To show that, you know what, we are skilled, we are educated, we are working on very complex pieces of equipment. Even to understand how to use the tooling to fix this equipment is a huge, huge deal. So to be able to bring that credential in and have that discussion and showcase the excellence of these technicians is paramount.
Yeah. So I'm looking at a stat real quick. Master automobile technicians, 58 to 63,000. Master medium heavy duty truck technicians. Have you guys seen this number yet?
I know it's wrong.
Is it wrong? Because it's very it's very
Is that
wrong.
the Bureau of Labor Statistics one, or no? Is that different?
No, this is a different one. This one came out of the ASE Partner for Progress report, and or actually online, I believe it from the ASE's page itself. 8,100 master heavy duty truck technicians, medium duty.
81. Oh, hold
Yep.
on. I misunderstood the number that you're talking about. I thought you were going average salary. With
no.
Bureau
I'm
of Labor
sorry.
Statistics.
Certified, amount of certified technicians. So 63,000 plus automotive master technicians, ASE certified, and only 8,126 to be exact, master medium heavy duty. Like, how do we,
opportunity there?
Huge opportunity. Like, my God, like, I know on our side, when I say our side, the dealership side, coming from a past service manager, being ASE certified myself, in the early days as a manager, I looked back at saying, oh yeah, it's just another piece of paper, right? You have in your file to show me that you know something, right? To me, it was like, prove it on the shop floor. How do we get that into the diesel, out of the diesel? How do we get this back into the diesel world? Besides,
that's a great question.
Besides us promoting it, right? Like,
right.
I think it's huge. Same thing, Jay, you and I have worked at how do we get the employers back in the schools, right? The schools now are trying to, I guess, I'm seeing more conversation of I'll call it the skilled trades. We now have more auto programs. We have some diesel programs. It's like, how do we get that number to be more relevant in coming into schools? Like, this is something, like you just said, Jay, having a certification in your pocket. You don't operate on somebody, right, without a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. It's like
doctorate. Yeah,
exactly to your point. Like, how do we bring this up that these trucks, you cannot just be the average Joe guy to turn around, hell, and even do a PM now, because you can run a diagnostic session on a PM service, run through your lights, wipers, horns, everything on the truck through a laptop. Well, it takes some knowledge to get through a lot of these repairs. And man, I'm kind of at a loss. Like, why such a low number? I mean, that's huge. That's a significant difference. 63,000 versus 8,000. How do we bring in the diesel world ASE certifications?
I think it's got to be valued by the employers, right? Like when you look
Absolutely.
at it, where Ray, when you guys do your competition each year and you have those big banners that are hanging on the wall at the training center, like that's pretty darn cool, and a huge recognition for the folks that win that competition. Maybe it's something along those lines, right? Maybe it's as simple as putting a banner up with your ASE master techs, incorporating it into your pay plans, right? Like if somebody goes out and shows that they are wanting to get that additional credential, what's their reward for doing it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
I think tying it into a pay plan is a great thing, because that does show that the company actually cares about it. And I think it's probably more challenging for the dealers to do that, because you also have to value the factory certifications as well, right? So
Yep.
you're throwing all of these things together. But to me, that should be opportunity for a technician to say, "Hey, I'm going to go gangbusters on all this stuff because I want to maximize what I can get paid." And so I do think it has to be driven a little bit by the employers. There are absolutely technicians out there that just want to show that they're the best of the best, and they want to go out and do it on their own. But I think the employers showing that they care about it would be a huge deal. And then the last point I'll make there is, on the automotive side, I've seen a lot more of this, where shops are starting to pay for their ASE certifications for their techs, right? And a lot of them are doing it pass or fail. So if a technician goes in and they fail it, they're still paying for it. I think there's some level of like, hey, am I going to pay for this test and as an individual, and it doesn't matter to my career growth? Well, why would I do
Why
it?
would I?
Well, right. So like if you can take away maybe that piece, and for a dealership there shouldn't be any excuse why you shouldn't pay for those, right? Like it's a pretty minimal cost for a dealership to kind of upskill their staff. And so I just think those are a few opportunities that I see.
And think of retention on that too, right? Is like, hey, my company invested in me. They were willing to let me expand my certification levels beyond the OEM that's badged behind us. And like, so, and I can tell you that coming from a dealership side, you think it's just Freightliners that come through our door?
Right.
No, right? We've got internationals, Peterbilt's, Kenworths, anything. So if I've got that ASE certified technician, and he's a master diesel tech, ASE certified, that means he's above, and to me, again, this is my belief, he's above and beyond any certification that I put him through as our OEM branded. Like, he should know a lot more of this stuff too. And I'm going to feed him work. And if I feed him work, his paycheck's going up all the way around. So yeah, it is. It's Bob. What's your
I
thoughts?
know. Sorry, just one
Yep.
point to add there. I think that's a really important piece you hit on there, Ray. And the reason why I think that's important is, if you look at a lot of dealers and maybe the dealer principals themselves, a lot of them, there is a mixed kind of thought process here on working on competitive stuff. And in this case, with competitive trucks, if that's um, part of your ability to get new sales of new trucks, because you just knocked it out of the park working on somebody's competitive piece of somebody's truck that's maybe not the Freightliner brand, and they see that and they say, hey, you know what, Truck Country takes care of us, we're going to start buying trucks from them. That, especially in the trucking world, where it's not just like one truck, a lot of times you could have an entire fleet switch because
Exactly.
of how you take care of them. So to your point, I think that was an excellent point that I completely left out, but I think that's a huge deal.
We joked when I was in an independent shop first starting out. Um, I went to Ohio Diesel, and they were very good about, hey, you're a master of none, jack of all trades, master of none. Don't think like you know it all out there until you get rolling and stuff. But we joked. There was two technicians, myself and another tech, just two of us on a little independent shop. We worked on everything from, honestly, sometimes like a garden tractor to a semi. And we would joke with each other and say, like, if we can't fix it, it's not broke. Like, apparently it's not broke because we can't fix it. So we leaned on each other for knowledge and everything else that we did. But actually, back to the whole point of what makes Harley Davidson kind of big branded motorcycle, what makes Chevrolet, Ford, marketing, right? So I think the big point to that question was, or should be, how do we get, and Bob, take this, actually, Jay, take it up the line, marketing, right? More people see the ASE badge in the diesel world, I think it will become more prominent.
Bob, I don't know if you want to comment on that first, but I do have maybe one last thought on the marketing piece.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
It does just help from a marketing standpoint in general, right? Because you've got something to market then. You're looking for ways to distinguish yourself as a service department. And, one common theme that I think we see in the service world as a whole is, oh, I hired my own tech, or I've got a buddy that can fix this. I got, and the more and more complicated this stuff gets, the less and less likely that that person's going to be able to do an adequate repair. So I think it's another way to put a feather in your cap as a shop of any type that distinguishes you from that backyard mechanic, right? Like somebody that is highly skilled, highly qualified to do this repair. I just, when you look at it from a marketing sense and the ability to pull more customers into your shops, and for techs, you might wonder, well, why is that important? And if you do, I'm guessing you probably don't, but it's obviously important that you have a steady workflow coming into your shop, steady amount of work coming into your shop. This can help with that. And that can help you drive your career forward, because the more profitable the shop is, the more likely you are to get a raise and to get the tools that you need and all of the stuff that makes your life easier. So just in general, it does come back around to help you. And for the shops that are out there listening, I think it's very important from a marketing standpoint to be able to have those credentials to be able to market.
Yep.
You guys are selling it for me. This is great. I don't have to really say much. You guys doing a great job selling ASE.
There's value to it. And I just, again, I don't think it's as publicized, as announced, or in the media. And
well, but you guys both talked about this, Bob. You talked about walking into the shop and seeing the ASE patch on that experienced tech's on their arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you the value of that. Like, if you're an experienced tech that's out there, sometimes I don't think you understand the weight that you carry in the shop, right? Like when I came into a shop, yeah, I had a boss that was a service manager, and you have the owner and you have all of that. But the one person that I feared the most, and the one that meant, their opinion meant the most to me, was that lead dog in the shop, right?
Yep.
The one that was kind of that alpha. And if they had that patch on, you're kind of thinking, he's going to be upset with me if I don't work my tail off to get that. And so it does garner more respect. The fact, Bob, that you'd asked the question of what that meant on the arm, right? Like, for a young technician, that means a lot. If that experienced technician is kind of they set the standard for what everybody else is going to do.
Right. And you guys both made some great points here. Not only has the industry changed, and it's changing rapidly, it's very technologically advanced from where it was, again, even just 10 years ago. We really need to focus also on the technician curiosity. I don't understand how this works. Somebody help me understand. What do I need to go? Where do I study? What do I do? And we're seeing some of that come back right now. So I'm very hopeful. We're seeing some technician curiosity come back. We're starting to see some support for the trades again, which is very exciting for us at ASE and for me personally. We get to work with some schools and stuff like that. We get to talk to some different shops. It's very exciting to see where I'm thinking the industry is going by, recognizing these guys can make good money. It is a good, solid paycheck. It is a good path forward. Our next generation is more on what's my next step in my professional career moving forward. Back in the day, we never thought about that kind of stuff.
Right.
Ray, quite honestly, we showed up, we worked hard all day, we went home, and we just came back the next day. We weren't thinking, 5 years, where am I going to be? This next generation's all about that, which I think is great. They're much better planners than we were. So they're definitely thinking, longer term, which is great. And the industry has to step up and show them that there is a clear path. We jokingly say that, the trucking side of things, there's not a ladder, an upward ladder, it's a lattice. I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't imagine, 20 years ago that I'd be able to come to work at ASE and get to do the stuff I get to do. I mean, I've been a working hands-on tech for a long, long time, unfortunately, but the opportunity presented itself and I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, that's something I could never imagine doing, but it's been a great opportunity for me. Just the folks I get to meet and the stuff I get to learn. In every place I go now, I do get to be involved with something called TMC Super Tech. It's
Yep.
the American Trucking Association, TMC. It's a big competition for technicians. And the contacts I make there and the folks I get to meet and the stuff I get to learn, it's just amazing. But I've got to
Incredible.
get out of my comfort zone. I've got to network and I've got to ask questions. And that's what we need our truck folks to get in particular. We need them to start asking questions. Hey, what else can I do? What else can I learn? How can I do this? Again, not to pick on us old guys, but we want to go in, do our time, and go home.
Yeah.
Back when I was younger and hungry, to Jay's point, I would come home and I would bring back in the day books. I'd bring books home. I'd never overhauled a 13-speed transmission in my life. So, I watched a guy do it, then I brought the book home and I went to the book over and over and over. And, 2 weeks later, one came in and I said, hey, I want to try it. Can you just watch over me to make sure I don't break anything? And, after doing 3 or 4, I actually got pretty good at them. But it's that, reaching outside of the normal.
Progression.
Yeah, you just got to learn. You got to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add to your point on career pathing is I don't want to. We a lot of times will just focus on young people and their need for a career path. But one of the things that I think is an opportunity for shops is to maybe sit down and talk with that 55-year-old or that 57, 58-year-old tech or 60-year-old tech that maybe their body is they're starting to feel more of the aches and pains, and have conversations with them of like, from now to retirement, what do you
That
see for
you're the
yourself?
next mentor
Because
or trainer.
Exactly.
exactly. And like
Exactly.
Ray, that's what's so cool about your setup is that you do have opportunities that are outside maybe the day-to-day bay life of maybe going in different directions. And to me, that is so important for our industry moving forward, because those young people are looking at how you treat that really experienced tech. And if it's perceived that you're just going to use them up and spit them out,
Yeah.
it's not great. Right.
Yep.
So like the more we can kind of show that, hey, you know what, you've put 30 years in here, we want to make sure we take care of you. Like that says something to those young people. And I think it's one of those things where we can't ignore. We've got to make sure that we're taking care of our more experienced techs as well.
Well,
Great
Bob,
point, Jay. Great
Bob,
point.
you said it right. You never thought you'd be sitting in the seat where you're at now after being a technician, and I think Jay can say the same thing. He never thought from. I will say the same thing. Who'd have thought that you're wrenching most of your career in life and you move to a service manager's position, then you move to a director of training and development, like over a fairly large company. I mean, any one of us, it's great, a testament that you don't have to be that guy that's just sunsets, right? I'm just, 57, my body can't take it anymore. I guess it's time for me to retire, and maybe I'll go find a big lawnmower and get a customers and mow lawns or something, right? And it's like, no,
There's days where that doesn't sound bad, by the way. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I think we all could do better at, especially in the dealership world, because I know we have that hurdle of attrition coming, retirement, and it's like, okay, so what do I do with those guys, right? Like their body is broke down, and there's no doubt about it. It happens. Not every shop has a lift to lift a semi, so you're up and down on a creeper or you're sliding underneath it. You know, it's like an athlete. You get broke down a little bit, and we hate to see somebody just wander off into the sunset. And how do we utilize that a little better? Make a mentoring program, and I get it. So if I'm a dealership and say, hey, I've got 4 guys that are going to retire next year. Well, out of those 4 guys, maybe 3 of them do want to retire and just say, I'm done. But maybe there is that one guy or gal that wants to hang on and say, hey, I want to pass on my knowledge. I want to sit back and not bust my knuckles so much, but show the young generation coming in. Jay, you've met my senior instructor, Steve Arlen. So
Yeah.
Steve wanted to retire himself back as a dealership, and I'm like, sorry, pal, you've got too much
We're not
knowledge.
letting you.
No way. And I steered him into training, and my God, he's got 6-7 years of instructor now, and he has finally announced to me that next June he's going to pull the plug all together.
No.
Yep. June of 2026.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Well earned. Well
Yep.
earned.
But he has passed on to you guys' point. He has passed on so much knowledge, for me, myself, and him. You take us middle-aged guys in our late 50s that stay on top of the technology. Like, I eat that stuff up, just like you, Bob. I'm not a big reader, but like you, I want to know about it. Like, I'll sit in classrooms and listen to the guys, bouncing back between the two training centers in Indianapolis and here. I take those senior trainers. I'll listen to the senior techs that are still coming into classes and stuff and sharing their experiences. Hell, our trainers will tell you the same thing. They pick up pieces from technicians off the shop floor. So, all right. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Jay, Bob, any last things you guys want to speak on behalf of, we'll call it the myths of ASE?
I don't know, not sure about the myths, but you had spoken earlier about the ASE test taking experience, having to go to a test center and things like that. We do have a couple of other things that have been out for a little bit. We have new stuff coming. So we have, for the automotive side, a recertification app. If you folks haven't heard about that yet, that's on our website.
Pretty
If
cool.
you're automotive certified, you can basically get the information on your phone. You get like a certain number of questions on A1 every month, and then A2, whichever one you're certified in, you can just answer them on your phone.
Oh, nice.
The interesting thing is this is not older technology. This is cutting edge technology. So you're going to get questions very specific to Land Rover or Jaguar or Mercedes or Fords. And you're going to go, hey, I'm not a Ford guy. Why are you asking me this? The idea is to, again, pick the curiosity and say, hey, I didn't know Ford did that. That's kind of cool. You're going to miss more than you're going to get right. But we give you the explanation at the end as to why the correct question is correct. Correct answer is correct. And if you get it wrong, you'll get another one a couple days or a week later on the same content, just to kind of tickle the brain again.
Yeah.
So that's been out for a little bit. We're getting ready to update it to app 2.0. So you'll be able to actually access it on your computer, a tablet, something like that, because some of our wiring diagrams are pretty intensive. They're pretty big. So we had to give you more room. That's kind of new and exciting-ish. It's been around for a little bit. We are running tests right now for something called Pro Proctor. It's active right now, so you can sign up and take the test from home or from a secure location, whether it be at work or at your home office, as long as it's a clean room. There's not people walking back and forth. There's not a bunch of books on the table. There's rules and regs for that. And we're looking to extend that. Right now, that's only for research tests. We are looking to try a test run on full length tests to see how that goes. So we're kind of trying to come up with other ways to deliver the tests. One of the big complaints we get is I've got to drive so far. There's no test center near me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies want to pay their people to take the test plus their time to take the test. So if something's an hour away and the guy's got 2 hours worth of tests, we've now lost half a day of productivity for this technicians. And let's be honest, we don't have enough technicians as it stands right now anyway. So to take one out of the shop is challenging. So we're listening to this feedback, and we're trying to make it, better for the employers and for the technicians. So
good, nice.
There's more coming. We're listening. So any feedback we get to ASE, we're listening to your comments, and we're trying to make it more efficient, more convenient for everybody as well. So
good. So to all the listeners, you heard it. Like we like to voice our opinions quite frequently. let ASE know, reach out to them.
Absolutely. And we get the phone calls, we get the emails. We don't take the four-letter words too personally on most of the stuff. So we get our comments, especially if you're unsuccessful at an ASE test. We get it, you're angry. Reach out to ASE. We honestly try to help everybody as best we can, get to the right conclusion, whether it's, different training, whether it's, you had a poor experience at the testing center, stuff like that. We do our best to try to help everybody as best we can.
Nice. Jay, any last words from you?
I just echo what Bob just said there. ASE is doing a fantastic job at listening and really trying to evolve with the industry. And so just kudos to everything ASE is doing. I am obviously a huge fan of everything that ASE does, and seeing them continue to kind of push the envelope, I think is really critical for our industry, for the good of our industry, for the long haul. So just kudos to everybody at ASE.
Yeah, and honestly, kudos to you, Jay, for really I'll call it the expansion, the avenue, the lanes that you have jumped into with your whole business, and now partnering with ASE, trying to make it better with schools. And honestly, your voice, is becoming hopefully larger and larger to grow our industry with the skilled trades, and having the blue oval. I always, the blue oval in the background is really good. So honestly, thank you guys for that. And we will wrap things up with today's podcast. So Ray Clark, your host, and on behalf of Bob and Jay, thank you guys for being part of the show today, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.